Hello once again, watchers of good anime. My name is Nick Pell, and this is my review of Ride Your Wave. Now, this is the most recent anime film from director Masaki Yuasa, who directed other films which I have not seen, so this is the first film from him that I have seen. I saw the Devilman Crybaby show that he directed 2 years ago now, and I quite enjoyed that, so I am a little bit familiar with his animation style, but again, this is the first film that I've seen from him, so it's going to be a little bit different from a 10-episode series. Now, for about the first 20 minutes or so of this film, it is basically a love story. We have these two people they end up meeting. One is a surfer who's there to study oceanography, I believe it was, and then there's another person who is a firefighter, and they end up meeting, start dating, and for the first like 20 minutes of the film, it's basically a love story where you see their relationship come together. You see just kind of a montage of certain events and moments, and you basically get a sense of what they were like as a couple and how much they were deeply in love with each other. I say were for a reason. And it's a very heartwarming film in that regard because it works just really well as a love story overall. I think the chemistry between these two characters works quite nicely, even though we don't really get to see the fullness of their relationship because obviously it kind of has to work within a 90-minute time span, so we don't have a ton of time to devote to it. But I think the amount of time that it does setting up their relationship and just how they play off each other and their connection and things of that sort, it works pretty well, and it works for the rest of the film as a setup for that. I also enjoyed the animation for this film overall. I think it looks really good for the most part. It's again a different type of animation style than what I'm used to and what I've seen in other projects, but for the most part I thought it was very unique and very cool and very well done. There are a couple weird things that just I noticed when I was watching it, just when like characters are far away, they just kind of have dots and then a smile, and it doesn't really do a lot with their facial expressions from far away, which I know happens in anime all the time, but it's just not something that I generally see or notice, for that matter, in anime films. So it's just something which kind of stuck out to me. There are also just times where like a character is say on like a train or a bus or something, and while you can see like the bus in motion or like vibrations from it moving, the character seems to just not be sitting naturally, or seems like their character model is just moving weirdly. I don't know. It was just small things like that which I just for some reason noticed and they stuck in my mind, and I don't know why. But for the most part, like I said, animation is great. There's just a few hiccups which seem to stick out to me for whatever reason. Subtitles are also kind of a weird thing with this. I don't know if it's a G Kids thing who licensed the film for US release, or whoever did the subtitles for this movie, but they were kind of weird at times because there's a song which plays and is sung throughout the course of the film many times, and sometimes it is subtitled because there will be a main character who is actually singing said song for whatever reason, and then there will be additional dialogue which is happening, and sometimes the subtitles will overlap each other, like a word or whatever the sentence is that's being spoken that isn't singing will fall right over the song lyric, and so it's kind of weird. It makes it difficult to make out what is actually happening or what is actually being said, because you have to kind of try to differentiate between two things which overlap, and so it just kind of bugged me, and it happened more than once, which is kind of dumb. And there are also times where it seemed like subtitles were just missing as well. Like I've seen enough anime at this point where I know roughly how long a certain phrase is supposed to be, or when it's subtitled and when it's supposed to move on to the next statement or whatever. But there were times where it just kind of sat on one statement for longer than it seemed. And it seemed like we were missing a bit of dialogue. And so maybe that's just me and I'm completely wrong, but it was just small things like that with the subtitles which just kind of threw me off here and there, and made me feel just kind of not able to fully relax because I never knew when it was going to have another hiccup and overlap or miss something or what have you. And so small things like that. It's not the movie's fault, but it's whoever subtitled it kind of messed that up a little bit for me. The main focus of the film, and if you haven't seen the trailer, this is going to be a spoiler, I guess, but the trailer pretty much shows this if you've seen that. But about 20 to 30 minutes into the film, Minato, who is the guy, firefighter, he ends up drowning in a surfing accident while he's trying to save another person. And so the majority of the film is focused on Hinako, who is trying to get over his death, and eventually she starts to see him in water as she's singing the song, which meant a lot to them as a couple. And so a lot of the film deals with grief and her trying to get over the loss of someone that she really loved and cared about, and I think that the film does that pretty well, because you see her going through a depression right away, obviously, because this is a person that she thought she was going to spend the rest of her life with, and then it's just suddenly gone, which happens all the time, unfortunately. But seeing her go through those stages and having this sense of hope when she's starting to see him, and as far as we can tell, it's actually him. He's somehow appearing in the water as a spirit or whatever, and able to control it for whatever reason. And so seeing that hope become realized, and then also just having to face the idea that he would again disappear at some point, it makes for a compelling film in that regard, and I think it works really well in that sense, even if the plot itself is a little bit simple and gets a little bit weird at times, to be frankly honest. And there are a few things which kind of just threw me off plot-wise and made it seem a little bit silly and a little bit weird. There are times where you don't know if Hinako is crazy because, of course, she can see the person in the water suit, but no one else can, so everyone thinks that she's losing her mind, more or less. And so it's kind of interesting in that aspect, and I think, again, in regards to grief and letting go and moving on from death, pretty much, it works really well in that aspect, and I think that is ultimately the main focus of the film, as well as just kind of finding your own path and all things of that nature. So in that sense, it works pretty well. But overall, I thought that Ride Your Wave, it's good. It's not great, but it's good. It's a fun enough time. It does its job well. The animation is pretty good for the most part. Some subtitle issues, and it can get a little bit weird at times, but the plot is fun enough to watch. The characters are interesting enough to see on screen. And the animation's good, music works well, and it has its main theme utilized and done in quite a good fashion. So those are my thoughts on Ride Your Wave. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. What is your favorite anime film thus far this year, and what are you looking forward to coming down the line in the next couple of months or so? Let me know in the comments below. As always, my good people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.